Eli's fevered breath clouded the dim space where shadows danced as the day ebbed into twilight. The virus gnawed at him, but far worse than the fever was the unsettling feeling that someone, or something, was with him. Cracked walls loomed around his small apartment, remnants of long-forgotten memories embedded in the fading wallpaper. He lived alone, a lingering remnant of a once bustling family home, now a quiet shell housing a restless spirit. Eli had always loved playing video games. They were his escape from the world, a dense fog that separated him from reality. He stumbled upon Forsaken, a game whispered about in hushed tones among the online community. Tales of its horrors wrapped around him like a shroud, though his curiosity tugged him deeper into its depths. But as he played, lines between the game and his reality began to blur into a haunting symphony of fear, laced with the paranormal. It started with echoes, ghastly whispers that slithered between the cuts of the narrative, beckoning him closer to the screen. "Don't forget," the game taunted. "All who are forsaken have secrets." His screen flickered ominously, the static playing tricks on his eyes as he maneuvered through shadowy realms filled with forsaken souls, each more desperate and sorrowful than the last. That evening, unease settled in his stomach, a premonition wrapped tightly around him. Eli reached for his phone, intending to distract himself with a call, when a notification flashed, a new patch update for Forsaken. It promised new depths to explore, hidden lore behind the Forsaken spirits. His heart pounded faster. He felt that familiar lurch of apprehension as he clicked to download. Could this really be what he had been waiting for? As the digital world loaded, Eli's apartment enveloped him in an eerie silence. The shadows stretched, the chill in the air creeping out of corners he could have sworn were empty moments ago. He shuffled deeper into the game, light spilling from the screen, illuminating the morbid scenes before him. Each click of the mouse wrapped him tighter in its goth-like embrace, binding him to the fate of the Forsaken. Suddenly, the game's ominous soundtrack shifted to a chilling silence, followed by a series of jarring knocks emanating from his front door. Eli tensed, his heart both racing with fear and leaping with curiosity. "Who could it be?" he muttered, wrestling with the nagging sensation in his gut. No one came to visit him anymore. The game beckoned again, and he turned back, the words on the screen swirling into an amalgam of despair. Once inside the Forsaken realm, he navigated the darkness filled with characters who shared their harrowing stories. As he delved deeper, he learned of the Spectre, the hunter behind the Forsaken, a presence that toyed with weak souls, only satisfying its hunger for agony. Against the shrieks of despair, Eli screamed, "What do you want from me?" The spectral energy coursed through him, fear melding with dread, casting shadows across his own need for connection and recognition. The reality of his solitude pressed down harder, making the whispers from the game seem almost comforting. Knocks morphed into urgent pounding, claws clawing at the door. "Eli! Eli!" It was a voice he knew too well, the ghost of his younger sister, lost to an unseen hand long ago. The game had whispered about siblings, about unfinished business, unresolved feelings that bound forsaken souls to their suffering. The veil between reality and the game pulsed with electric tension. In a fervor, Eli grabbed his console and turned up the volume. The audio grew muffled, distant, consuming his thoughts, until all he could hear was a crescendo of wails and laughter competing for dominance within him. Myth and memory merged, and he sank deeper, locking onto the haunting narrative that spilled forth from the digital abyss. "Merging," the game whispered with a sinister undertone, blurring the edges of his reality. A kaleidoscope of glitching images assaulted Eli's vision, a violent storm of memory and regret turned into pixelated madness. Desperate for release, he ripped his eyes away from the game, the pounding at the door growing more urgent. "No!" he shouted inside his head. "I cannot stay here!" But like a moth to a flame, his curiosity pushed him onward. He was not just immersing himself in a game, he was losing grip on who he was. The pounding crescendoed, his sister's voice clamoring for escape, just outside his door. Driven by morbid fascination, he found himself pressed against the cold glass, staring vacantly into the dark, unyielding surface. He swiped through the interface in a fever, searching for a way to close the game, but the specter held him firmly in its grip. Echoes faded to whimpering cries, twisting through his mind. Then, abruptly, silence. The pounding at the door ceased. Eli held his breath. Unease crawled up his spine as he blinked once, and then twice. He half expecting his sister to greet him, but instead, empty silence cocooned him. Glancing back at the screen, he saw one final message blink into view. "You have been chosen. Welcome home, Forsaken." With a sickening realization, he looked around the room. Shadows began to shift, consuming the space, blurring the boundaries of his apartment. The game's key elements transformed, twisting into dark figures looming from every corner, suffocating light. Eli's shrill scream echoed through the unseen realm as the door swung open, revealing a face he recognized all too well. A visage of cheerful familiarity twisted into something grotesque. A sibling forsaken, trapped in a world that had devoured her entirely. "Come play with us, Eli," she beckoned, arms outstretched, urging him into the shadows, into the inevitable fate crafted by a game that was now all too real. The shadows clawed at Eli's sanity, and with each passing moment, reality slipped beneath a murky veil. The mournful whispers of his sister echoed in his ears, a haunting melody of loss that clawed at his heart. He could feel the spectral dread coursing through him, pulling him closer to the darkness that swirled at the edges of his vision. Every flicker of light felt like a taunt, every sound a reminder of the isolation that had consumed him. When he glanced back at the screen, Eli's reflection twisted grotesquely, a gaunt version of himself, eyes wide with fear and longing. "You wanted to play, didn't you?" the game crooned, the text shimmering with an eerie life of its own. The digital world beckoned him with a siren's call, but it was a call he could no longer ignore. With a snap of clarity born of desperation, Eli ripped his gaze from the screen. His surroundings enveloped him in icy tendrils, and his body felt foreign, ephemeral, as if he could slip away if he simply allowed himself to dissolve into the dark. The unyielding pounding resumed, each bang reverberating through his skull. "Eli, let me in. We can be together again." He stumbled backward, catching a glimpse of movement in the corner of his apartment. The shadows twisted, forming a distinct shape, a young girl with hollow eyes and a smile that promised nothing but despair. "Eli, why won't you play with me?" she asked, her voice echoing eerie familiarity that sent a chill through his bones. She stepped closer, lengthening the shadows around her like tendrils reaching for his sanity. Breath hitching in his throat, he needed to act, to escape this nightmare. The game had entangled him, yet the slivers of his sister's voice promised understanding, lost in the murky recesses of his troubled mind. "Please," he breathed, the words spilling out like spilled ink as he stumbled toward the front door, drawn by the memory of her laughter stifled by sorrow. But the urges spiraled, an unrelenting tide crashing against the fragile walls of his mind. Eli turned to face the screen once more, transfixed by the only sliver of hope remaining. "What must I do?" he whispered, fingers hovering over the console, yearning for the final decision that would seal his fate. "Join us," the game whispered seductively. "Play to remember. Embrace what was lost." And then he saw it, the final patch update blinking, an invitation dripping with treachery. He had to accept. He plunged into the depths of Forsaken, surrendering to the vortex of ghosts and torment. The agony of abandonment flared like a beacon, growing stronger with each click. In a heartbeat, the digital realm warped around him, and he was swept up in a whirlwind, colliding headfirst with the forsaken souls he had once navigated alongside, but now understood as extensions of his own despair. They swirled around him, chanting his name, and he felt their sorrow flooding into him, replacing fear with a sickening calm. "Welcome back," they sang. "Welcome home." Eli's surroundings faded, and soon he found himself standing on the brink of an endless abyss, a place where the remnants of his life flickered like glowing embers, waiting to ignite. Beneath him lay the memories of all he had lost. His sister, the days of laughter stained by regret. The reality of his abandonment crystallized as he peered into the darkness. In that moment, Eli grasped the truth of the game, the spectral prison it had woven from secrets and sorrow. The forsaken spirits danced with glee, for they thrived on pain like a fish thrives in water. "You see," his sister whispered, her voice both inviting and chilling, "we were all waiting for you. You were never alone." And in a fleeting moment of clarity, Eli smiled. It felt right, this choice to succumb to the shadows, to join the ranks of the Forsaken. He took a step forward, the ghosts embracing him, heralding his passage into oblivion. "Yes," he murmured, "I'll play forever." The screen flickered ominously one last time. "Endgame," it read, a final warning swallowed by darkness. And as the echoes of laughter mingled with the cries of lost souls, the apartment faded, leaving behind a hollow shell, its last occupant, nothing more than a memory, lost within the forsaken tapestry, woven ever tighter in the game designed to consume them all.